that's not really my place, in terms of, trying to convince somebody of something that, they probably can't see right now. James probably couldn't see what we were getting into.
I know for sure that most of us saw Kevin Durant's reaction to the James Harden trade yesterday as the All-Star draft was going on, and there was a decent amount of trolling going on as a result of the James Harden trade. Ultimately, I wanted to drop a video right then and there, but then I realized there is another superstar that we need to wait on before we could complete this video, and that was Kyrie Irving. And we just got Kyrie Irving's reaction. It turned into a funny little Twitter back and forth. So before we get to the content, I wanted to give you guys a shout out, man. The Laced Up podcast live stream was so much fun. Mike Korzemba and I loved bringing you guys into the stream and talking basketball with you guys. We want to do plenty of those in the future. Make sure you subscribe to the Laced Up podcast in the description down below. We upload twice a week on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. Valentine's Day is right around the corner, guys, and what better gift to get that special someone than a pair of brand new kitchen knives? Now, you don't want to get any type of kitchen knives that these junky Amazon retailers are selling you, which is why I am partnering with Kamikoto Japanese Steel Kitchen Knives. Kamikoto makes great Japanese steel kitchen knives using traditional techniques from Japan. Each knife comes in a beautiful, heavy-duty ash wooden box that makes sure the knife is stored safely. I don't know about you, but I'm an idiot and I tend to mess up my nice things. But Kamikoto makes sure that doesn't happen to you. They have a variety of knives that are used by Michelin star chefs, such as the 3-piece Kanpeki knife set that comes with the Nakiri vegetable knife, the slicing knife, and the utility knife. And here's what's the most important to me. Each knife is individually inspected. Kamikoto is so confident about their knives that each knife comes with a lifetime guarantee. Honestly, I love the presentation of these knives. I think they're absolutely gorgeous, and I can't wait until my friends get to try them out when I have steak night with the boys, and the knives feel nice and balanced and comfortable in my hand. And right now, Kamikoto's having a huge Valentine's Day sale when they give you $50 off of any purchase you make on their website when you use my promo code FlightMike. That's promo code FlightMike at Kamikoto.com. And thank you, Kamikoto, for the sponsorship. Mic check 1212. What's going on, everybody? It's kind of interesting because I don't think we'll ever get a trade deadline like this again. I don't think we'll ever get a situation where a former #1 overall pick will hold out the entire season and as a result get traded to a championship contender. At the same time, I don't think we'll ever get a scenario where the way that one of the members of a Big Three leaves is the way that James Harden did it. As I started to record this video, Ramona Shelburne gave us a little bit of an inside look as to what happened in the James Harden negotiations, saying that in the final minutes of negotiations, Daryl Morey was shouting to Sean Marks, "Stay on the phone." Here it was, 1:15 p.m. on Thursday, and the Philadelphia 76ers president of basketball operations had come too far to let this deal die. He implored Marks to stay on the line until they had an agreement on the biggest trade of the year. "We're going to finish this." He was on the cusp of getting disgruntled star Ben Simmons out of his life and James Harden back into it. The protections on these draft picks were within reach, and Morey wanted it over. For months, everyone had told Daryl Morey to chill out, cave to the marketplace's mediocre offers, and unburden the Sixers of the Simmons saga. To hell with that, Morey wanted Harden. "So we're dropping F-bombs now, Daryl?" Sean Marks said jokingly. That's actually a really funny back and forth. But here's the part that was kind of shocking to me. Sean Marks said that the Nets had gone from believing that Harden was the key to their championship dreams with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving to accepting that they were about to dismantle one of the greatest theoretical super teams after just 16 games played together in 2 seasons. They weren't happy that Harden had gone from the superstar they can count on to the one who was bailing out on them, but they were also realistic. Then it goes into the behind the scenes scenes of James Harden, saying that from the moment Harden reported to training camp this fall, the Nets knew that they could have trouble. Durant arrived in San Diego at a world-class level, fresh off of a brilliant springtime playoffs and Summer Olympics performances, and was ready to commit to the Nets and his co-stars with a new extension for the next 4 years. However, it was not reciprocal. Harden was heavy and out of shape, and intrigued with the idea of free agency for the first time in his career. Kyrie Irving wasn't interested in an extension or willing to get vaccinated, despite New York's mandate that precluded him from playing home games if he didn't. This is where it gets really interesting, because I was kind of wondering, maybe I'm just a melodramatic individual that likes blowing tiny little interactions out of proportion just so I could report on them. Or maybe there's something here, because James Harden didn't seem happy in the interviews, Kevin Durant seemed really annoyed during training camp interviews, and Kyrie Irving was just being Kyrie Irving. I don't even think he spoke to the media then. This is where it gets really interesting. Sean Marks spoke to James Harden often, but he didn't provide them any counter information he had been feeding to those outside the organization. He said, "Don't believe any of the rumors. If there's a problem, you'll hear it from me directly." Harden has had a reputation as passive-aggressive rather than confrontational, and that was about to create real problems for Brooklyn. Organizations consider information to be the most important commodity of them all, and Harden's conversations with various agents and third parties returned to Brooklyn quickly, which happens when you seek professional advice without paying for it. Initially, Harden preferred the prospect of re-signing with the Nets in the summer because Brooklyn still had a chance to win this year, sources said. He could always force a trade later. In that first season, Durant and Irving missed significant time, leaving Harden alone to shoulder the team's record. This year, Harden has struggled with his conditioning and the offensive rule changes that no longer allowed him such easy access to the free throw line. Finally, as Thursday's trade deadline neared, Harden spoke up and told Sean Marks and Sy that he preferred to play for the Sixers. For weeks, Harden hoped that he could avoid the public backlash of asking out of his second franchise in consecutive years. But his passive aggressiveness hadn't worked in selling the Nets on the idea that they had to move him. Over FaceTime calls, Harden told his GM and owner that he wanted a trade to Philadelphia. The Nets told him that they would only make a deal that was good for the franchise, and the Nets had unloaded significant assets to acquire him a year ago, like Jarrett Allen and Karis LeVert, 4 first-round picks, and 4 pick swaps. Brooklyn couldn't reclaim all of that, but they needed a substantial return on a deadline trade with the Sixers that would be difficult to do with other teams to leverage. Harden told him that he understood, and they agreed that he wouldn't play until after Thursday's trade deadline. Harden had checked out on the organization, a reality made clearer when Harden informed them that he was returning to Houston on Wednesday to wait out the deadline. The Nets were traveling to Washington, having lost their 9th game in a row. So that is so freaking interesting. I didn't know that's how it was going down behind the scenes. I could imagine why James Harden is disgruntled with the Brooklyn Nets, and I honestly can also understand why Kevin Durant had this demeanor during the All-Star draft. I think Kevin Durant is extremely motivated because he really, with lack of a better way of saying it, he gets really insecure about the public's perception of him. And the fact that he had to go to Golden State to win 2 championships eats away at him. So he felt like it was necessary to go to Brooklyn and win on his own in order to say, hey, I'm Kevin Durant. I was able to win a championship on my own. The fact that he wasn't able to get that same drive and determination from James Harden must have frustrated Kevin Durant. On the flip side, James Harden must have been very annoyed with Kevin Durant because here is KD asking for the same exact commitment from James Harden that Kevin Durant gave, but you have Kyrie Irving that isn't willing to get vaccinated in order to allow the Brooklyn Nets to win a championship. And when it got to a situation where the Nets were clearly losing games because of this, then it was obvious why James Harden wanted out. Now, here's Kevin Durant's reaction to the situation when they asked him about it on Inside the NBA.
I'm excited for our team. Looking forward to finishing the season out with these new groups and these new players. And, you know, it's playoffs right around the corner, so we got to fast track into, you know, getting used to each other. But I'm excited. You know, I think everybody got what they wanted.
You know, Kevin, I just gotta say, man, do you have a full-time psychiatrist on staff dealing with all the stuff you have to deal with in Brooklyn?
What I got to deal with? I'm making millions of dollars playing basketball.
I know that,
man.
but you got to deal with the James situation. You don't have to deal with that anymore. You got Kyrie going on. I mean, it's always drama around that team. So I know you got to have somebody to talk to because it's hectic.
I love my brothers regardless.
Which, of course, man, I think is extremely mature, but I think he's also really freaking upset because if we're being honest, when all three of these players were healthy, they were the best team in the East. When they were playing together, they were the best team in the East. The supporting pieces that they got this offseason should have put them over the hump. Unfortunately, it didn't do that. As a result, the Brooklyn Nets had to move on from James Harden and take back Ben Simmons and Seth Curry and a couple of first-round picks, which I think is a remarkable trade for them. Here's Kyrie Irving's reaction to the entire situation, which kind of resembles a LeBron James interview we heard not too long ago.
Obviously, with my status being in and out, you know, I saw a few things that maybe that could have impacted things, but who knows? You know, we gotta wait for him. I can't really speak for James, but you know, for us in this locker room, I've just done my job to fulfill a great leadership role alongside Kay and other guys, and you know, I've been in I think we're also forgetting I've been in a situation too where I've asked for a trade, and I understand it. So I'm not here to judge him, not here to talk bad on James. You know, he has a great family, he's a great person, and I don't want to separate that fact, you know, from anything. I just really want him to be happy. I want everybody in this league to be happy. You know, sometimes we get caught up in these situations on teams where, you know, sometimes the outside influence could get inside the locker room, and then it has this divisive energy with it, and it's just not what I'm about, you know.
It's kind of funny because Sean Kent would quote tweet what Kyrie Irving said here, and Kyrie Irving would respond to this saying, "Or regardless of anything, I am set up for the rest of my life, and so are the next 7 generations of family members that come after. I did this all before turning 30, so I love being a weirdo. Weirdos unite." Needless to say, man, this is going to be one of the biggest what ifs in NBA history. All I could say is at least Sam Presti could sleep at night knowing that 2 members of his young core that he drafted for the OKC Thunder won't win a championship together. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.